Good morning, Gene. How you feeling?
Well, I'm feeling pretty good, thank you, and looking forward to an outstanding season this year.
Well, I'm glad you're a lot better. I talked with Jimmy Rain the other day. He said he talked to you and you were feeling a little bit better. Does off the field problems? I know it's big. You talk about it a lot. Does it affect the way you play at a game?
Well, sure, it affects you. It affects you mentally, and I'm guessing you was talking about the youngster that was shot. That would affect me if I was a coach. I've read where Coach Saban said that the only thing that they did is they were out a little late. That's a little disappointment. We're playing a great big game. You'd think the players would be in on time, but they have different rules and different things now that you don't have an athletic dorm where you can control the players. But anyway, I think the youngster will probably play, but that affects you.
Does Jimbo Fisher, having worked with Nick Saban and sort of know his tendencies, I don't know, maybe he knows his tendencies defensively, maybe they've changed a lot. How much help is that?
Oh, I don't think that's a lot of help, really. Okay. I think the fact that Alabama's got outstanding players and they're extremely well coached, I think that's the thing that they have going for them. I think they have 15 to 16 players, and they were predicted to make all conference before the season started, the first and second team. So that shows that they got good players, and when you have good players and you're well coached, that's a tough combination to be.
Yeah, it is. Very.
Coach, I got to tell you, I appreciate what a great man you are. When people ask me and say, hey, what's your name? I say, Barry Eugene Sanderson. They say, Eugene? I said, yeah, I'm named after Gene Stallings. And they shut up real fast. So I appreciate you being such a good man. And people want to make fun of Eugene until I tell them who it is. And so I guess you and Mom and Dad go way back. But I appreciate you being such a good man and having a great name there, because I've carried it with me a long time here, Coach.
Well, we've been friends. I can't remember how long. Back when you were an assistant coach and I was assistant coach there at Alabama, and we went to church together, and those were good times.
Coach, how hard is it when you got a scout team on both sides of this game that they're trying to simulate what the other team does? Obviously, Alabama and Florida State both have great athletes, but they can't really run their offense or defense like they do. Then you get into the game, and wow, you start seeing how they really run it. How difficult is that to simulate that with a scout team?
Well, you can't. About the only thing you can do is beat positions and assignments and that kind of thing. But there's no way that Alabama get ready for Florida State on the scout team. Now you can recognize formations and recognize plays that come off of it, but that's the reason that when I was coaching, I felt like that on a Wednesday, the best you had need to go against the best you had. That's the way you get better. You don't get better on the scout team, but very few teams do that now.
You know, Beaves, of course, new offensive coordinator, and of course, the offensive coordinator never gets any credit. He's always beat up. But I don't know that coming from New England and maybe doing some things maybe that they did, added with what Alabama has done in the past to make them successful, is that should be maybe a little bit confusing of Florida State as to what they're going to do offensively. Maybe I guess that's the question I'm asking you. Is it?
Well, I'll answer it for you.
Okay.
You've got a freshman quarterback, won 14 out of 15. Lost the last game 1 second. I'm telling you, they're not going to change very much.
Okay.
You win football games with football players, not schemes, and they've done a pretty good job of what they have. And regardless of who's called the coordinator or whatever, they're going to do what Coach Saban wants, and he's going to want to do what the players can do. And 14 out of 15 is not bad for a freshman quarterback.
No, that's pretty good. Yeah, Coach, getting ready for a guy like that, kind of like a Jalen Hurts or a Johnny Manziel, who can beat you with their legs. So they take the snap. It may be a passing play, but it breaks down. Those guys can take off, and they can take it all the way to the end zone at any time. How difficult is a guy like that that's so multidimensional to really get ready for and defend? Because sometimes he doesn't know what he's going to do. He just reads the play and makes a play. That's got to give defensive coordinators a nightmare getting ready for that, doesn't it?
Right, and the player that can, quote, get out of trouble is the player that I always like to have and I'm worried about. You can contain them to a point, but now all of a sudden you've got everybody covered man to man, and that quarterback takes off running for the football, and there's nobody to contain him. But that's just athletic ability. You can't coach that. They're blessed with having that kind of talent there at Alabama.
Yep.
The Big 12 is out there right by you, and I know you're near Houston. That's such a terrible thing out there. It's awful, but the Big 12 has not been good, very good defensively. And I was just going to try to compare them without trying to make anybody mad. Compare them defensively with the SEC. Now, the SEC struggled some besides Alabama, but is there a comparison to be made there between the two leagues defensively?
No, there's no comparison. But now Oklahoma plays. They play pretty good defense, and I think the University of Texas this year is going to be a surprise team. I think they're going to play pretty well. And Oklahoma State does a pretty good job defensively, but I don't think they're in the same league with the Southeastern Conference week after week after week.
Your old school A&M is going to UCLA to play, and I guess every game's a must-win from what the athletic director said at the conference meetings. What about A&M?
I think the athletic director, this is just my opinion, made a mistake.
Yeah,
about telling the coach that winning 10 wasn't enough. Now, there's enough pressure to get your team ready to play. Now all of a sudden he knows that every game's quote is a must game. I think that's undue pressure that's applied to the coach.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I agree with that, Coach. Talk about handling the Alabama job. You got to be a strong person like yourself, Coach Saban, some of the guys that not everybody can handle this job. Just how difficult is it to take on everything that comes with this football job here in Tuscaloosa?
Well, now, if you want to know a tough coaching job, you take it when I was coaching at Texas A&M.
Yeah.
My 3 preseason games was LSU and Baton Rouge, Ohio State, and University of Michigan. Now, that were my 3 preseason games. And we weren't blessed with good players. I'd a whole lot rather have some of the problems with outstanding players than having the problems with subpar players. So it's hard for me to feel sorry for an Alabama team that for 9 or 10 years has not been an underdog. They've been a favorite. So when you get good players, and they are extremely well coached, that's a tough combination to beat. Now, you can say you have a little problem on who to play, but I had some problems on who to play too, but it wasn't the 5-star players that when I was coaching at Texas A&M, for an example.
Yeah. Tell our listeners, and I know this is completely off the subject as far as college football, tell our listeners a little bit about working for Tom Landry.
Well, he was Coach Landry, in my opinion, was by far the best pro coach ever. You just can't imagine how knowledgeable Coach Landry was about football. Now, when I joined the Cowboys, he critiqued every practice reel. The offensive line would have a drill, defensive line have a drill, secondary, quarterback, so forth during practice. He critiqued every practice reel. I just don't know anybody that's knowledgeable about football. In fact, I told him one time, I said, Coach, this is going to surprise you, but I can critique the secondary practice reel. So he let me do it, but he came to my meeting room 3 days in a row to make sure that I knew what I was talking about. So he was extremely knowledgeable and a good person.
Yeah.
Coach, how different is the NFL game? You see a lot of these guys in college, but they talk about, the NFL is a totally different game. Why is that, and is that true?
Well, first of all, the game is a whole lot more complicated in college football than it is pro football. They use very few formations and use basically the same plays, and one player can be traded from one team to the other, and he can play the next week, where in college football you have lots of different formations and lots of different plays and so forth and so on. But the pro game, the pro player, I'll assure you, wants to win. We say that he just plays because of the money and so forth. The money is important, but the pride of being able to win and contending for the Super Bowl and things like that, that's what really gets the attention of the player. It's not the money. I know money's important, but that's not the main factor.
How important, too, is it, Coach, to have players, not just the coaches, but players take on leadership roles on a team that will, when you had a problem like happened the other night with the kid getting shot out late at night, where some of your players that have been through the program will bring those guys together and talk to them about what it means to be an Alabama football player or wherever they are? How important is leadership in those situations coming from the players?
I think it's extremely important, and I would imagine, and I'm just surmising now, but I would imagine some of those senior players or the leading players will get together and talk to some of the players that were, I can't say violated the rule, but because there probably wasn't one, but was out before an important game. So somebody will get their attention and say, look, if you don't want to play and if you don't want to act right, we'll go somewhere else. Well, that's sort of what leadership's all about, is getting everybody on the same page. And I will assure you that some of the Alabama players will get the other guys on the same page.
Well, Beaves, I want to thank you for being on. I know you're on a lot of shows, and I appreciate you being on mine. As soon as you get to feel a little bit better, I'll get Jimmy. We'll fly out to catch a can again, and I'll teach you how to fish.
Well, those were great trips, and you've been a great friend for a long time. And I can remember my little boy Johnny. He loved to imitate Wimp, and we would be sitting around and we'd say, Johnny, do Wimp for us. And more, he would get that frown on his face, and he would look at the player, and he would throw his hand out there, and he'd raise his hand up. He had you down to a T.
Yeah, he did.
Coach, could you tell me, did that ever catch a fish? Be honest. Did you ever see one come in the boat that he casted?
I'm going to tell you a story.
I'll let Coach answer whether you caught a fish or not.
Somebody bought.
Yeah. One time years ago, Beast may not even remember this. Years and years ago, we were at Panama City, and Beaves got a hold of a shark, and he wrestled with this shark for 2 hours. I've never seen a guy wrestle with this shark the way he did. He probably didn't remember this. And when the minute he was exhausted, the minute he got the shark on board, the captain took out a gun and shot the line in two. Beaves was hacked off.
Wait. Did the shark ever get in the boat?
Oh, yeah. He shot the line in two. You don't remember that, do you, Beaves?
I do remember that. If he's going to shoot him, I wish he'd have shot him before I'd wasted 2 hours trying to get him in the boat.
I'll never forget that as long as I live. I don't know how I remember that, but he shot the line in two. Well,
Coach, we do know you won't tell a story of Dad catching a shark or catching any big fish. There's no stories out there like that.
I was in the clubhouse eating. Yeah. When they rang that bell, that's when I take your lines in. I was eating.
Well, Wimp, it's always a joy to be on your show.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate it. I'll call you back and check on you. Thank you.
You holler anytime you can, and I'm doing as well as I can. Thanks for asking.
Thanks.
Thanks, Coach.